Thank you, Mike. Say a couple words about Christy. Mike has mentioned obviously why the family team is here in Worcester for several years. You know, one of the things about people that I have met that have had a cancer diagnosis and they've made it through and they've reached that place where they're in remission or they're in a cure, one of the natural things that happens sometimes is they want to get as far away from any talk about their cancer as possible, and that's absolutely natural. They just want to, you know, feel the comfort of not even dealing with that anymore, even though we know quietly that they deal with it on their own. And then there's the people that do what Christy does. She has, in fact, jumped into the fight against blood cancers with both feet and, frankly, dragged the family with her. She has, just in the last year, she's been involved in our Man-Woman campaign. And I can tell you, I was actively involved in that campaign because a friend of mine we nominated to be a Man of the Year candidate and from Grafton. And he was lucky enough and raised enough money to be the Man of the Year. But I can tell you we had a fundraising event here in Worcester. And at that fundraising event, it was a wine tasting, and we had invited a blood cancer survivor to come and speak. And because of a last-minute glitch, that person could not make it. And then I called Louise Pop in Natick at the office and said, "Louise, we get a problem." She says, "No problem, I'll give Christy a call." And with about 2 hours notice, Christy and Matt came to our event, and Christy was and is always prepared to talk about her experience with the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. But I can tell you for a fact that one of the reasons that my friend won was because the people who were there that night came up to me afterwards and said they were prepared to write a check, and they wrote a bigger check because they were inspired by what Christy had to say. So again, I want to welcome Christy tonight, and she's the team captain of the Tilton ski team. This is going to be her 4th year participating in Light the Night and all the other things that she does. So please join me in welcoming Christy to the podium.
Thank you very much for that very nice introduction. So as you know, I was diagnosed with acute promyelocytic leukemia. It was a Monday morning, and while getting ready for work, I noticed that I had blood in my urine, and soon after I had a bloody nose for no reason. I didn't know what was wrong with me at the time, but I just knew something wasn't right. So my husband and I decided that it was best to go to the local emergency room to get checked out. And on the way, we called my parents to let them know what was going on. And at the time, my mother and my sister were in Florida for my sister's spring vacation. We reassured them that everything would be fine and, you know, just stay put until we knew exactly what was going on. So we arrived at the ER, and I had my blood drawn, and they told me that my white blood cell count, which is your body's ability to fight infection, and my blood platelet count, which is your blood's ability to clot, were extremely low. And when your counts are so low like this, I was at a very high risk for severe bleeding. So for example, if I had a paper clip, or if I had fallen, my body wouldn't be able to stop bleeding, and I could ultimately bleed out internally. So I was sent to the next doctor, as my dad had said. We went to the hematology clinic, and this clinic would be able to do more comprehensive tests. So they drew my blood again, and my dad and I were sitting in the waiting room waiting for the results for what seemed like hours. And the doctor came in and said to me what nobody ever wants to hear: "We think you have leukemia." Immediately, my dad and I, our mouths dropped by the shock of what we had just heard, and we grabbed each other's hands. And I said to him, you know, everything's going to be okay. I was saying this not only to reassure him, but in hearing myself say it out loud, I believed it too. And then, so the doctor said that I needed to have one more test, so as he said, we went to Dana-Farber. And at Dana-Farber, they drew my blood again, and I also had a bone marrow biopsy. And then what this biopsy would be able to do is to look at my blood at a molecular level to hopefully identify why my counts were so low, and ultimately determine what type of leukemia I had. So, as I said, this test did say that I did have leukemia. And at the time, the doctors didn't know exactly what type of leukemia that I had, but what they did know is I needed to start treatment right away. And as my dad had said, later that night, they did tell us that I did have acute promyelocytic leukemia. And as supporters, they did an amazing job. They brought in all kinds of pictures of our backyard blown up to poster size, hung it in my windows. I mean, they made my hospital room look better than ever. My sister made me a poster of my dogs, because I have 2 little dogs, which I love. My husband would bring videos in of them, and so it made me feel like my home away from home. So it was really great. And because I ended up spending 21 days in the hospital, I had to have surgery to have a cord implanted under my skin so I could actually receive the treatments. Lost all of my hair, and then was going through IV chemo for about 7 months, and then proceeded with an additional year of medications, taking about 400 pills each month. And then I did complete treatment on October 26, 2010, which you can imagine was a great day because I was fed up with taking all of those pills. And once again, as we heard before, acute promyelolytic leukemia about 50 years ago was considered to have 100% mortality and was really one of the most feared of leukemias, ultimately because patients couldn't survive the treatment. And now we have come such a long way that it has now an established treatment plan, has a 95% cure rate, and as my doctor had told me when I was diagnosed, if you're going to get cancer, this is what you want to get because you can survive. So this has honestly been my main reason for participating because, 50 years ago, if I was in the same place, I wouldn't be here today. So, if it weren't for people like us here today, back then, I wouldn't be here and so many others wouldn't be here. So this medicine is really just ultimately so critical. As we said before, we've been participating with LLS for 3 years now, and our team has raised $40,000, which is still ultimately so surreal to me because when we started fundraising, we had never done this before. We had no idea what we were doing. LLS makes it really easy because they have their fundraising pages. You can just send the link out, email people, and the rest goes from there. And I think over the 4 or so years that I've done this, I've just, every single year and every single thing that we do, I'm just so amazed at the generosity of people and just how much they give, who gives, and everything. So as I said, the first year, we sent out a few emails, we raised around $500. The next year, we started a little bit earlier, sent out a few more emails, and we raised $5,000. And realizing with ultimately little effort, we could raise so much that I wanted to step it up again. So in 2011, I was asked to be the honored hero, and I was 2 years out from treatment. I was done, or I should say 2 years out from my diagnosis, done with treatment, had my energy, I was ready to go, and I said, okay, let's try and raise $10,000. My family probably was like, what are you getting me into? But we set the goal, and then we needed to set the plan to do it. So to do that, we created a team newsletter, which ultimately became the basis of information of our team. It had, information about our team. It had my story, what LLS is, and why we're involved in LLS. And this just made it really easy. So every email that I sent out, I would attach the newsletter. Anytime, I was out and about, I always had newsletters in my purse. So if I happened to be talking about LLS, I'd say, here you go, here's my story. And, it just helped make an easy platform of getting our team information out. Then I had created a team website, so tiltonsevp.com, which kind of became a virtual newsletter. So all of the information that was on the paper newsletter was on the website, and once again became an easy way to get the word out. Other things that we did in 2011, we hosted a barbecue, which was actually a great success. We just sold, hamburgers, hot dogs, some chips and drinks, and we didn't set any prices. We said you can make a donation of your choice and you get your food. And some people paid $20 for a hamburger. So it was just a really great success. And in that barbecue, we raised $500 just from the afternoon. And finally, in 2011, I reached out to my company asking them to help us raise funds and get the other offices involved. And several offices hosted bake sales. Other offices, they hosted a dress down day where people would pay $5, and on a particular day, everybody could wear free dress that day. And through the bake sale, the individual donations, the dress down day, we raised about $3,000, bringing our total for 2011 up to $14,000, which was $4,000 more than we ever expected. And once again, it's still, right now, it's more than I could have ever imagined. And this year, yet again, has been another amazing year. My parents and I started off by joining the leadership team for the Light the Night Walk. And then, as Tom had said, I had the opportunity to join to be a part of the Man and Woman of the Year campaign, which for those of you that don't know is a 10-week spirited fundraising campaign where there was 12 candidates and we were all fundraising on behalf of the boy and the girl of the year. And whatever man and whatever woman raised the most amount of money at the end received the titles. And Tom's candidate was actually the winner, Bob Lewis, and he was an awesome competitor, I guess. And I didn't win, but we did raise $19,500, which once again was more of a win than I could have even imagined, because going in they said, "What is your goal?" And I said 5. So we surpassed it immensely, and really, and once again, it sounds like a lot, but I mean, we don't have anything special other than my story, and it's just sharing it with all of your friends and family. You know, all they can do is say no to you if they're not going to take a donation. So the more you can share it, the more you can get it out, you know, the more of a difference that you can make. So thank you.